What's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. So, as you all know out there, because we always post this early and often, we have a great and good friend. I call him a good friend, Mr. Todd Fox. He was on episode 17 of Limitless Radiocast, and it was awesome, a pleasure. Helped us even build our platform. He's been a friend of the show for a long time. He is, I believe, you're still a third degree black belt. Probably should be a fourth degree black belt or if higher. He is a retired U.S. Marine. He owns a protection company and also has, let's talk about this other book that I'm going to tell everyone about real quick beforehand. This book that I carry around with me all the time. As you can see, I have tabs in it and I read it. It's a day-to-day operations of protection for and from humanity. Todd sent this book to us a long time ago. I use it as a field guide, but we want to bring Todd back on the show because he has a new, awesome, amazing book about basically a life in 2022 of him being out there behind the scenes, little peek behind the scenes of protective perspective, a peek behind the scenes book. It's out there on Amazon, Noble's Books. I believe you can get it on Apple as well. Todd's going to be able to jump into more and talk about it, but I advise all of you out there, if you're not doing this, I want you to stop right now and write it down, listen to it. I'll have the links out there so you can get to it. The book is amazing. It's a really good perspective of what Todd does day to day about protecting dignitaries, celebrities, so on and so forth. He's highly trained. He doesn't just speak this, he does this day to day. A good old friend of the show, Mr. Chad Lyman, once said, and I put Todd in this, he trains as a true lion, and most people train as zoo lions in the world that do this day to day. So anyway, without further ado, Todd, thanks so much for coming back on the show. We appreciate you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah, good to be with you guys, man. Good to have you on the show with me.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. For sure. So how's life going, man? How's what tell
Good, man.
that's
Been busy. Well, let me start first by this because I would be
yes.
remiss if I didn't. This is what it looks like for people watching. Protective Perspective is out, a peek behind the curtain, and basically it's a book that's focused on protection, but it really is highlighting touring and what goes on behind the scenes and the planning and the preparation and what it's like living on a tour bus or flying around on a private jet and those kinds of things. Because in the past, unlike the book that you showed there, this book is more of a picture book, coffee table book, right?
Nice.
People wanted to see photos. People are very visual, as probably all three of us are. So this is really geared toward the masses. People are interested in protection, but also interested in travel, in photography, in understanding what goes on in the music business behind the scenes, things like that. So it's a much broader stroke. It's not so focused on systems and processes and things like that, unlike the last book or the last couple books actually. So I've been pushing hard on that front, probably a little late in the game because we were running a couple different tours and a C-suite executive stuff. And then, as you guys know, we just wrapped up with Maynard's promotion of his gym and the seminars that he taught in Jerome, Arizona. So been busy, but finally making time to talk to the important people like you guys.
Yes. We appreciate it greatly because, guys like you, we wouldn't be where we are today without talking to great guests. And, Chad, go ahead. You're going to say something.
Well, it's crazy. He was on episode 17, and I think this is episode 90 that we're recording right now.
Yeah.
So we're pushing 15,000 downloads total. So it's crazy how far we've come in a short time, really, you know, just trying to be consistent and organic and all that stuff. So
yeah, that's a huge thing now, man. People are lying, cheating, stealing, putting numbers and like, oh, I've got 1 million followers. Like you've got 990 followers and the rest are bots. It's like
right.
It's not real. So doing it this way is better. I think it's real. I think people can feel it when you're talking and discussing topics. And obviously people don't know. We just had a 20 or 30-minute dialogue on things that are going on in the jiu-jitsu scene just now, very candidly. So, people, I think they know that they can feel what's organic and what's not, and what's for the camera and the mic and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I tell people all the time when they're like, oh, how's this or that? And I go, what you see now, like it face to face with me, this is exactly how we are in a show. Like there's no filters, there's no faking. Like this is who we are as people. Like, and that's what we always wanted to do, because if someone does approach us or we go to a seminar or get to see someone in person, it's like, oh, you were totally different than this on the show. It's like, no, I don't want that. Like, hey, how you doing, man? Give you whatever,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's I
important.
think people realize that as you get older, you have less time for silly shit. You know, you have
Yeah,
less
you just
time
don't
to
have
deal
time.
with the
Right.
BS. Like
Exactly.
you just want what's real, and either you connect to a person or you don't. If you don't, you move away. But yeah, there's something to be said for that, especially in this day and age, man, where most things are fake,
For sure.
and then you get something that's true and real, and all of a sudden you can make that connection, and things are good.
For sure, 100%. And like the real part. So Chad and I were talking earlier today, and I said, "Do you think?" And Todd, this is a great question for you, perspective. Do you think the perspective, and this has probably always been there for jujitsu today, is that people are chasing a belt and a rank versus chasing knowledge? And it like with the social media blowing up, obviously it's been big, but we know in our community, like people are looking at like a top notch champion or whatever, and they're going, "Oh, I can do that," or "I want to be just like that," and so on
Yeah.
and so forth. And it's like you're not even chasing the right thing in our sport. You know what I mean? What do
Yeah,
you?
you know, everybody has jujitsu kind of as a different type of tool, and so some people are using it for camaraderie. Some people are using it for physical fitness. Some people are using it for self defense. Other people are using it for sports, like whether it's MMA or no-gi or gi jujitsu. So I think it's relative to what they're after, but I do think now because of the volume of exposure that it has, it's changed a lot, and goals have changed a lot because people now want way more recognition than they used to. People weren't so fixated on recognition the way they are now,
Yeah.
Sure.
because of social media and everything else. They think that's what they need to be validated. But when you go back and you look at it, I remember in the mid 90s, 95, 96 timeframe where I thought jujitsu was like this magic thing, which there are some components that are magic, but I thought, for example, that I came from Hicks and Elo Gracie's side, and I thought that they were the ones that founded this thing and it was brand new, whatever. But as time goes on and you do research, you look at old documents, and I'll give you an example. So I'm looking at books that are 100 years old,
Oh, nice. Okay.
and in those books they have the guard, and in those books they have all these different movements that I thought were like founded by the Gracie family. And the reality is that this stuff's been around for a long time, and I see in my tenure in jiu-jitsu, which is coming up on 30 years, um, I see a lot of times guys doing something, renaming a move, like this is a brand new thing, this is the
Right.
cool thing, this is the, and it's like it's a move that I was shown, in the mid 90s, and it's not new, but they repackaged it, put a name on it. So jiu-jitsu is in an interesting cycle. Like it literally goes around in a circle where I, for example, was told, don't do wrist locks. They don't work. Don't do knee bars or heel hooks. In fact, in the early days, that was looked at as being a weak movement. That means you
Oh
shouldn't
yeah.
have good jujitsu. In the early days, you weren't allowed to go train at anybody else's gym. You weren't allowed to show anybody the moves. Like it was just a different time. So I think there are the pros and cons of evolution. Like the exposure now is massive. I think that's a good thing. I think a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't get jujitsu are now in jujitsu, and I think they can find a person that teaches for them, for their mindset, right, for their body type, for their thickness or their length or whatever it may be, and something that resonates with them, they can actually apply on the mats or in reality, if that's the thing that they're after. So I think we get both sides of it. We get a lot of fluff, we get a lot of McDojos, we get a lot of silly stuff, we get a lot of guys that shouldn't have their belts, and even in my gym, there are probably a lot of guys that should be higher belts that aren't, just because it's old school approach to belts. So it's interesting to see. It grows, but it gets watered down. So you get the pros and cons of both sides of that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever going to change. Probably, most likely,
It's
right?
probably going to
No.
get a little worse,
I was
right?
going to say it
It's
probably get a little worse over
the belt,
time.
the belt, it's going to be so subjective. I mean, it is anyway to what I think is a
It
blue
is.
belt and what
It is.
Todd might think is a blue belt, but it's probably going to get
Yeah.
worse.
I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think it's gonna get worse, because if you look at if you take something like in the States, for example, Taekwondo, it coming in, it being developed, the Korean guys were super hardcore, and they were kicking to the leg and they were punching to the head.
Yep.
And what they did is basically they monetized their system, and they had to remove the things that would get people hurt or would keep them from doing it. And so they softened it. They softened that the hard arts that they had. the people that came over from Korea were super hard humans. And I know because I've been over there training with like the Korean Rock Marines. They're badass guys. At 3 o'clock in the morning, they're out there treading water, half a mile out at sea. And, they've done crazy amount of physical work by the time 6 o'clock in the morning rolls around. So they're hard people, and they came over hard, and they were doing everything. And then they started removing the things that were not very friendly to sales, right?
Yeah,
and then they started
sure.
introducing things. If you're charging for a belt ceremony, you're charging for the belt, you're charging for the certificate, which we obviously don't do any of that in jiu-jitsu, at least at my gym. But those are points of profit. And so that makes a lot of sense from a business model, but it weakens the art, and it just becomes so watered down. It's like, okay, this doesn't work anymore in a fight against anybody that's tough. So I think there's both sides of it. So some people will get something that otherwise they wouldn't get. They'd have been flushed out. Like my gym in the early days, my coach Rodrigo Vaghi flushed out 90% of people that came through the door. Well, there were good people that if you took the time to work with them, they could have been something, or they could have been way better than they were. But because we were so hardcore, we never were able to give them the gift of jiu-jitsu. Because then, nope, you don't make it, and you just flush them out. People running around puking, that's not conducive to good business, right? Or people getting put to sleep. Like, you imagine you come into the gym and you see like one guy's puking and one guy's passed out, and the other guy gets his arm popped and he's sitting there with ice on it. Like, that's not inviting. And so I guess you have to kind of see where you want to be. And I'm sure there are plenty of gyms that still offer, different levels of this on one end of the spectrum or the other. But, by and large, jiu-jitsu is slowly becoming more watered down. That's what it is.
Yeah. And that's seeing as much consumption on social media and trying to, I limit myself, obviously, being more age, being more intelligent, and not everyone out there. I'm not saying you're not intelligent. I just chose to pick and choose what I'm looking at because of that reason, what you're saying, Todd. Like, it's watered down or this and that. It's like, come on, guys. Like, let's move on.
There's a flip side of that too, with all the information, all the knowledge with respect to, the physicality of it, and obviously all the PEDs. When I was fighting in MMA in the 90s versus now, like if I were to jump in at the same level I was at when I did it in the 90s, I would just get smashed, because the guys are so much better. They have access to so much more knowledge. They have access to cross training in a way that we never did. Their approach is different in terms of intensity, in terms of recovery. Guys now, they have personal trainers who are working with them. They have dietitians who are working with them. They have a jiu-jitsu guy, a wrestling guy, a Muay Thai guy, a boxing guy, and then they've got other people that are literally just dedicated to recovery. So from that perspective, on one end of the spectrum, it's a whole nother level from the time that I started. And then, as we discussed, on the other end, it's like, it's pretty sad in terms of McDojo. So we're getting away from the middle and kind of going to the extremes, seemingly.
Sure. Right. I was going to completely sidetrack my own head. I want to go back to the book real quick. I know we do this, and Todd's familiar with how we do the show, obviously, but this is your fourth book, creating this fourth book. Was there always an idea of wanting to create like a coffee table type book, or was this just kind of an idea that kind of came up as you were doing it?
No. So in my case, the way that my mind works and the way that I want to transfer knowledge to somebody is more kind of like a field manual. And so I'm thinking about the things that they need to know. They need to understand how to break it down so that I can transfer that knowledge. Picture books aren't quite that, even though I'm predominantly a visual person.
Sure.
In retention for the visual component, like if you look at an image, your retention 3 days later is at 60+%, whereas that's not the same for auditory or kinesthetic. So there's a major component there. But the pictures that I love, and I see something, you get a peek behind the scene, most people are asking for that. They're like, hey, what's it look like? What's this like? And not only do we need to keep kind of some of our core secrets, some of the operational methods that we use, but also we have non-compete, non-disclosure agreements with all of our clients. So we really can't come out with too much. So I had to find a way on this tour to kind of snap some shots and take some stuff down, and then go back and look at what I can say about those images that will yield some type of understanding or shed some type of light on that particular situation. So really, this is the only book that I've created based on what people are giving me in terms of feedback. Like, hey, what about this? What about that? And probably not so much my thing. I think it's more palatable to the masses.
Sure.
So, you know, if you go back to like the next book that'll be released is on use of force and force instruction, focused on U.S. law enforcement, because we have a lot of jiu-jitsu guys teaching that don't understand the complexities of law enforcement because they've never been in it. That gets more kind of back in my wheelhouse as opposed to like a picture book. Not to say that it's not great. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think it was worthy. I think it's probably has the best legs for any book that I've written just because of how it's designed. But some of the things will touch on areas, and I'll try to pull up something just to give you an idea. You know, private jets and tour buses and how the trucks carry the gear and things like that, and how it is to live in hotels and movement of information and what we do, you know, to work these 20-hour days, you know, 6 days, 7 days a week. But then, you know, we get into other areas, and I think, like, give me an example. Something like this is personality profiles based. And
oh, nice. Yes. Okay.
You're looking at something and they're like, well, why do you have to worry about that? The idea for us is that we're dealing with a lot of big personalities that are famous, that are rich, and we have to encourage them to do something. And so we have to figure out how they're most likely to hear us and then act on what we're talking about. And so that kind of stuff is still in this book, which is what I geek out on. But for the other people that don't care about that, there are still these images of what it looks like. What's a bed look like? Yeah. What's a bed look like on a tour bus? You know, what's it look like when you're on the private jet, and how is it like when you arrive in the tarmac and the bags and the movement and the going through these lounges and you know, circumventing certain systems and things like that. So you get bits of that. And in this case, I have actually the artist in it a few times who I haven't disclosed, but if people pay attention, they'll figure out who it is, because they'll see the back of the person's head and the side of the person, and they'll see me taking that person to train jiu-jitsu, so they'll have a good understanding of who it is.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't. Todd's been gracious enough, as always, as I said before earlier in the show. He's supported us, and he sent us some books. Except I had COVID, and I couldn't be around Chad, so Chad still has the book. So I haven't got to see.
They're
the
at
book
the gym
yet.
for
so
us.
They're at the gym. Yeah. So I'm excited to dive into it. Obviously, I love.
Hey, I'm glad you're doing better.
Thank you. It was my second time having it, and the first time was worse. This time still sucked. it was out of nowhere and had the aches and pains and all that. And this past week, I haven't trained in 3 weeks because of the fatigue, and like I couldn't breathe real well this week. I was struggling. And just being at home, I'm like, man, I ran a race last Sunday with my wife, and I thought I was going to die. And then the week kind of got worse, my breathing and stuff. And she's like, "Are you going to go to the gym?" I'm like, "No, I'm going to watch Jeopardy with you." And that's what I did, which was fine. I don't like it, but it is what it is, and I'm through it, and I'm excited to get back on because I'm feeling really, really well. Kind of yesterday, I actually picked up doing daily push-ups and everything like that, trying to get back after.
Potentially, Terry's going to compete in April.
I'm looking to it. Yeah, this COVID thing really mentally messed with me because I was like, man, I was on a goal. I was really pushing, and I'm kind of a goal driven type person. Like I see something and I go ahead, just get after it. Just go. So this 3-week window kind of irritated
you.
Yeah.
So I had that happen a couple times with COVID. I had it 3 times, and 2 of the times I had competitions planned. So, you know, mentally it's first of all, it fatigues you physically, and then mentally, you know, it shuts you down. So I get it. And I've had varying degrees of COVID where it did nothing, and then where it's like, you know, I'm in bed for 3 or 4 days. So it's a weird thing. And I think a lot of it has to do with the existing levels of inflammation in your body and other stuff you're dealing with. Just kind of exacerbates that.
That's what my wife got it too. She was down for 2 days.
Yeah.
Ran like 15 miles for the week total. And I was like, I love you and hate you right now, because I'm over here going, is this like something with my body? Like, why? And and I'm chalk it up to the same thing you just said, Todd. Like, I think I have some underlining inflammation type stuff going on that was happening just at that same point. And I was already pushing myself really hard at the gym, getting after it, kind of going a little harder, a little more thing. And I think I my body was a little weakened. And then
Yeah,
bam.
man. I mean, it gives us a quick reality check with respect to our age. You know, it's like, oh, bam, motherfucker, you're 50. So like, you're not bouncing right back. This is what it is. You know, there's a reason you have gray hair and wrinkles and all that other shit. So I felt it a couple times. One time I didn't really feel it. We had to take PCR tests every day on the last couple of tours that we've done. Oh yeah, it's brutal. You know, we took PCR tests, we, you know, wore masks and all this other shit, and none of it worked. Everybody got the shit anyway. So, you know, in terms of prevention, the methodologies that were utilized were not effective, but that's another conversation.
Sure.
But it's funny because like you mentioned, the condition that you're in when that's happening, like if you're worn down and then you get it, your body's response to it's very different. Yeah, I had it, you know, at one point where it was nothing. I tested positive. I didn't feel great, and you know, just kept going on. Another time where the other extreme where it's like you're in bed. So it's I think has a lot to do with inflammation, and I get a varying degrees of knowledge on the subject from different doctors, and depending on their politics, it changes the science. Exactly. So it's pretty amazing. That I think is the first time that I learned that politics change science. But it's weird stuff, weird times. But I'm glad you're feeling better, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
The timeline's far enough out that you can get yourself back up to speed, you know, and then it gets down to strategy and timing and all the other components if you're physically down.
Yeah, that's what I figured too. And I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited. I was obviously beating myself up mentally, but
you
it's
got
just
it. Just figure your game out, simplify it a little bit more. You know, less options, and you force your will on the guy, and you know, set everything up. Spend more time on the strategy and the tactics, and less physicality will be okay. You know, I've had to do that with COVID too, going into tournaments. So I get it, man. I'm not just saying that.
No, I speaking of tournaments, you're because you're the man of many things and the man of many trades and always super busy, but you competed like what, a year or so ago, and you took gold at
American Nationals.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I did a bunch of, I went from no competing for a few years to just like COVID was downtime and they shut down a lot of our business. So I said, all right, I got something to do now. I'm going to train. I'm just going to jump into competition. And I think I ended up having in that 1 year period, I think I had like 34 matches.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
A bunch of tournaments. So yeah, American Nationals was one. I had some really good guys that I went against there. I went into that tournament seated last because I don't know if you guys are familiar with IBJJF seating,
with the points and everything.
The points,
based on points, exactly. And so, you know, I had the best guy the first round, and to be very fair, he should have taken second, and he got knocked out of the tournament the first round. So I knocked him out of the tournament because of seating, and then, you know, it went on from there. But had a really good year of competition. You know, a ton of really good matches. A lot of guys not tapping to chokes, going to sleep.
That's
so,
what I was going to like. The American National ones, like you cross collared, I believe from close guard, 2 guys, and 1 guy went to sleep, or maybe you were on top of the other guy and cross collared him.
Yeah, those were oddly enough, those were you know, cross collar chokes throughout that tournament, and you know, half guard top and half guard bottom. And for some reason, I don't know, you know, what it is. For the first 15 years of jiu-jitsu, I never used collar chokes because I was like, oh, you know, I'm an MMA guy, I'm an Ogi guy. And but in reality, it works great. And we've gotten to the point where we don't respect that anymore. And like, oh no, we're good. And I'm sure you guys know, when you put a choke in deep, it's not the pressure of like squeezing, but it's that slow, steady pressure where you don't realize it. Then all of a sudden it stars. And so
slow burn.
Slow burn is that. Yes.
That's it. And so guys, for whatever reason, aren't respecting it. And then it ends up that they pass out. And obviously that's not the end objective, but if you don't want to tap, then so be it, you know?
Right. Which Chad has said that many times. He's like, you're not trying to be mean, but this is a combat sport, and you know, we're not baking cakes. And if a guy doesn't tap, like, it's different if you're manipulating their body and you're like, all right, let me loosen on this. But it's a choke thing. It's like, listen, man, like, this is deep, and you're going to go to sleep if you don't tap. You
notice with the Japanese guys, like in competition, because chokes obviously, you know, applied properly, and the person not having pre-existing physical conditions, they will just pass out and they'll wake up, and that's that. But you'll notice the Japanese guys never tap to that. They always tap to, any type of joint lock where they can have long-term damage, but most of them will pass out. Just
they'll take that,
thing for them.
Just take it. That's crazy.
It is. It's cool though. I mean, it's old school mindset.
It is.
It is.
They don't think of it in terms of embarrassment. They think of it in terms of honor, like fighting till the very end. Yeah. So, I respect that.
Like Henzo getting his arm broke.
Yeah, oh man, those guys. Henzo's another level, man. Henzo's one of the coolest guys that I know on the planet. I mean, talented guy, awesome guy, but also just, man, that guy's got an energy that's different than anybody that I know. I mean, the guy's the real deal. He can do damage and whatever else, but he's the funniest, most charismatic guy on this planet.
Yeah.
Amazing dude. And he's the kind of guy I've called him up late at night, like, hey dude, I have this thing going on. I could really use your help. And he's like, what's the address? And then he shows up and it's like,
that's nuts.
Yeah. It's amazing, man. It's amazing.
That's what makes our community really cool too, though, because you built those, you've networked, you built those relationships. And I truly believe now. So Todd, I just hit my 3-year. February 11th was 3 years since I started BJJ.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
That's a big threshold too. That's an important threshold.
Yeah, of not walking away and quitting.
Yes.
And keep going.
Well, let's throw this in there before you talk, Terry. Terry had 9 classes in when COVID hit.
Yeah, I did.
In 2020.
And
so it would have been
for 2 months.
very easy for him to be like, you weren't vested like I was or Todd was,
Yeah. So hey, it's a big deal, man. I think guys don't get it. And the longer that you stay, the longer that you're likely to stay, and you're able to manage the components that come along with it, right? Mm-hmm. Like you start to mentally manage it, physically manage it, and then you're vested in a way that's very difficult to walk away from. So there are a couple of thresholds, obviously post blue belt, for whatever reason that phenomenon exists.
Yeah.
And then past 3 years, man, that's a big one.
People, obviously they'll always the joke like, oh, you got your blue belt now, like you're good, like you're going to be quitting and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, first of all, there's a huge amount of people at the gym outside of this community that I've built and friendships on here that aren't going to let me quit. But I look at it from that same point too. It's like, I've spent all this time, like why would I walk away now? Like, that's insane to me. Like, I know nothing. Like that's kind of how I do it. It's like, I'm chasing knowledge. I'm not chasing everything else. I know stuff, but in my head, I'll go, you don't know enough. Like, keep going, keep pushing yourself,
and it never ends. That's the thing, is that you never stop learning in jiu-jitsu. And the truth is you never can master jiu-jitsu. Like there's always some way, some different thing, some approach, something that presents a challenge for you.
Sure.
And that's the cool part, is you can't master it. So the idea of just being able to walk away like I know enough, it's not true. It's not real. There's not many things like that in life, No. Even though I have an immense amount of respect for striking, the complexities in jiu-jitsu far outnumber those in striking. So it's just like, it's forever. It just never ends.
Which makes it, like you said just now, it makes it the coolest part of that, because if you really put your mind around it and get in that mindset, you understand that you're going to do this for life, unless something physically keeps you from doing it. This is something, no matter what it is. If there's a hobbyist out there, listen, this is something you can do each and every day, once a week, whatever. I hope you do it more, but you don't have to be a high competitor. We talked about this, Todd mentioned our dialogue before, everyone out there listening, obviously you listen to the show, and Todd, I'm sure, would say the same thing, and Chad as well. Do jiu-jitsu. Don't have to be a competitor. It's going to make your life better.
Most people aren't going to be competitors.
Correct.
The reality of jiu-jitsu is that 90+% of people that do jiu-jitsu are not going to compete.
And they're never going to. Right.
And the benefits, I've talked about this before, probably too many times, but when I go to compete, I don't give a shit about tournament jiu-jitsu. In fact, I don't really respect it. I don't care about points. I don't care about any of that stuff or the medals. But the cool thing for me is when I go to the competition, it's a new guy in a new situation with a different style who's coming after me. And I have to manage the emotions of that, right? Like, I know what's coming. I can feel it, and everybody gets it. You're like, well, I shouldn't say everybody. Most people will get some type of butterflies or some type of anxiety pre-fight or pre-competition. And the process that you go through to manage yourself is really important in all life aspects, I think. So jiu-jitsu teaches that, like, okay, I got to deal with this. I've trained for it, breathe, relax, stretch out, implement your will, try to figure these things out. That's something really special to competition for me, but most people aren't going to compete. And the benefits are still going to be there for them.
Yeah, 100%.
You think about rolling with guys, it's a constant struggle. So even, let's say I dominate one guy, but the next round I get a big guy who's strong, who's an NCAA All-American. I know it's not just dominating him. I've got to survive what he puts up against me, and he's bigger and stronger and faster, and maybe he's 20 or 30 years younger. That's a different type of fight, and it's never over. Like round to round, you can dominate, one fight and then have a problem with the next fight. And that mindset is very different than most sports. And because of that, jiu-jitsu, keeps you fresh. The other thing with jiu-jitsu, I think that's really unique, and probably also all combat sports, is it forces you into the now, right? Meaning that if I am thinking about the past, oh, this thing happened today, blah, blah, I'm done. I'm getting smashed. If I start thinking about, when I get done here, I got to go do this thing, but I get smashed. So I got to be here and deal with that person in front of me in the moment to survive and thrive, right? And so 100%. That's a thing for guys like me that's really important, because most of the time I'm dealing with the lessons of the past and thinking about what's going to happen in the future, and I'm crossing right through the now, which is not a healthy thing to be doing.
You've also trained your mind and your physicality and everything else around you to do that. Like these 30 years, like you said, and also being in the military, you're Marine, 12 years. You also, which we didn't mention this earlier, and everyone out doesn't, if you didn't know this, of course, I always stumble over my words. Todd also is military again, but police. He's law enforcement. He has law enforcement experience as well. So this gives him a great lividity to speak on the topics that he's speaking on. So don't sell him short on that. When he talks about the training and stuff like that, he knows what he's talking about. And go out and get the books. Go out and buy all of his books. He has 4 books out there right now currently, and I would advise you all to buy them because they are very good for day-to-day operations. And like I said, the picture book is going to be fortunate, which I got to see some of those pictures that you posted on Instagram. It's like,
some of them were posted up on Instagram and a little kind of thought behind it, but this is kind of a collection and, a little bit more comprehensive. And, this book has like I don't know if Chad felt it, but it's got like a really kind of velvety feel to it. And the pages are thicker than normal, and the image quality is really high. So it's different than seeing something on Instagram. It's more visceral to have that experience, like watching a move in jiu-jitsu on YouTube versus doing it in the gym against somebody. So it's that.
You got to take that hand and make that hand pop off the back, so it's like a little stand, so it just stands up to that hand. Like the I was referring back to Seinfeld and the little coffee when you said coffee table book, I'm like, hey, make that book stand out. People are like, hey, what's that? Well, go pick it up and check it out.
Go ahead, have a look.
Yes, have a look.
You want to know where you can buy that?
Yes,
storeprotection.com. Glad you asked. Oh wait, you didn't.
But I told you. So do it.
What's the guy buy my shit?
Yes, that's right. That one picture that you posted, you're standing in front of the Lakers elevator. I love that. I was like, oh, and then obviously I kind of figured that you were doing something and you were within business. And
we're at the Staples Center, which I don't know, I can't remember what they call it now. They changed the name so frequently.
Something.
What's that?
It's the crypto.
Oh yeah, crypto.com arena.
Yeah.
But that also changes too with the scam. So when Friedman got nailed with FTX, the American Airlines Arena in Miami went to FTX Arena, and then all of a sudden that went down, and like it's no longer FTX Arena. So who knows? Who knows what it's called?
Who knows?
That's a thing. It was more of kind of an inside joke in that I'm there in literally staying in the Lakers dressing room, and I don't give a shit about basketball. I don't care. I'm unaffected by it. But people are losing their minds. Oh my God, that's where so-and-so, and oh my God, look at their locker. I'm going to get a picture. Like, I couldn't be bothered. You know what I mean? It's who cares? But obviously, in my case, being a grappler, basketball has always been at the same season, and I have never given, 2 shits about it. So I know most people don't agree with that sentiment, but that's what that Lakers picture was about.
Which was great. If you read it, you can kind of tell that, like your caption of it, like, hey,
if you know me, you can.
Right? Like, hey, look, and it's just like an elevator with the Lakers symbol on it, and it's just
that's the locker. That's the locker room. That's their locker room.
Oh, that's their locker room. Oh, okay. I didn't know. Wow, I didn't know that was their.
It looks like an elevator because it's stainless steel doors, so it looks exactly like an elevator, which is a whole nother thing. But
So, how's everything else going with you, my friend?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, just wrapped up one tour, and then as you know, Maynard had the event in Jerome, so we just wrapped that up and just getting ready to head out to Europe and spend some time there dealing with some crazy political stuff,
Oof.
and hopefully get some mat time there. Oddly enough, it's easy to get Muay Thai time in because not only are there more Muay Thai schools in Europe, but also they can come to me and we can do pads or technical sparring
Sure.
anywhere, unlike Jiu Jitsu where you need mats. So
Yeah.
it'll probably end up unfolding that way where most of the time in Europe I'm doing Muay Thai and I'll have to wait until I get back to the States to do Jiu Jitsu.
Do you try to make that a precedent in your life? Like with as much traveling, I mean, Todd, we
Yeah,
know like you're always traveling. So
the problem isn't whether I want to do it or not, or whether it's even available. The problem is if I'm getting on a flight, flying somewhere, and let's say I go do an advance of the airport, I go do an advance of the hotel, I go do an advance of the venue, and then my client flies in and I move them around these spots, and then I jump to the next city and start advancing something. I'm doing probably on average 20-hour days on average, and
man.
at the end of 20 hours in with me being an old guy, I'm done. I'm not going to take the 4 hours of sleep I have and condense it down to 1.5 hours, to go train jujitsu. And, I need to sleep. I need those 4 or 5 hours if I can get them
Sure.
to be efficient at my job.
Yeah,
So
you got to be, the focus time and everything. I mean,
yeah,
obviously
it's
sleep is important.
massive, especially when you talk about awareness and being kind of tuned into what's going on around you and be able to pick up small details on things. And we're not talking about a sport, we're talking about somebody's life. So if I screw up, I won't screw up again, because that'll be the end of it.
That'll be it, right? Yeah, you and yourself. That's why you got to put in as much anything, and obviously anyone out there, to understand this in perspective, do this in your regular life too. Your day-to-day operations. I mean,
it's massive. It's massive if you can apply that. It creates success. Just like jujitsu, if you have the tenets of jujitsu in your personal life, you're probably going to be successful. If you go in and you warm up, you prepare properly, you listen and pay attention to what's going on around you, you apply the things the way that you've been taught to apply them, you make the adjustments for you personally, and you keep showing up. Those are the tenets of a successful life, in my opinion.
Yeah. It could, you always add that in my opinion too. It's like you have to anymore, because it's like, well, your opinion doesn't matter. It's like, oy vey, like, what are we doing here? Like, come on. It's the same thing, like what we were talking about before we started recording the show. It's just like, come on. And
well, I identify as a person whose opinion matters the most.
There you go.
That's great. That's it. It's gonna be my new. I'm taking this. I'm just gonna put Todd Fox at the bottom.
Yeah, please, so that I get the death threats.
Yes,
thanks. Yes. Cancel me, guys. Just cancel me now.
That is another thing, man. We live in this society now. It's like you can't say anything or do anything. You can be for, like, let's take LEOs for instance, because obviously training and stuff, and we talked about it a little bit before the show. You can't be for them or against them. Like, you're wrong either way. Like, it's like, oh, you're canceled. Like, it's like, wait, you can't have constructive talks. Like, that's the problem. No one can sit and actually have. Everyone out there, you should be okay having uncomfortable conversations with people, because it's only going to better you.
There's a weird thing that comes from that, and it's often referred to as growth. It's a weird thing to think about, but yeah, people challenging your ideas. And the worst part is that people that have the real world experience, somehow now we don't want to hear what they have to say. Like,
right,
okay, it doesn't go along with what your theory is, but this guy does it in application every day, day in and day out. It's a interesting and special time to live in.
Sure. Do you get respect with your team, your company, with individuals, clients that you have to deal with? And obviously I'm not going into any detail or anything, but has that changed for you guys because of, I don't even know what, the non-growth, let's just say the non-growth in society?
Yeah. The entertainer, so 80% of our business is entertainment, and then we got about 10% more or less that is executive, like C-suite execs, and then we got another 10% that's like governmental. So the people that normally would be one direction, like the 80% entertainers, tend to be far left. That's just a reality of the world that we live in. So coming from the military and law enforcement and all of that, they are obviously going to have an idea about what I think. And it's my job to just keep my opinions to myself and to support them in any way, shape, or form that I can to keep them safe. So we don't really discuss those topics, but certainly, we're in the midst of that kind of stuff. When we present things that are related to their safety or their health, and then we explain why, and then they make their decisions. But, the people that we have relationships with, they understand our intent. And so it's not swayed by political opinion and ideas and things like that. So we don't talk to them about it. It's the short. And that way we don't have that problem, because really relative to protection, whatever their ideology is, whether it's founded or not, it doesn't matter. We still have the same job to do and the same objectives to achieve.
Good. I anticipated that being the clear objective, and it should be listen, that's not, you don't know. So, and as we do on the show, we try to keep non-political stuff, just because this we joke, I don't want to get canceled. Well, someone's going to attack us on things oh, you guys shouldn't talk about this, or you shouldn't do this. It's come on, just relax, man, relax. Come train jiu-jitsu.
The idea that somebody can't hold an opinion different than yours and you can't be friends, you must be in alignment 100% with me, that's not how humans work. We all have different experiences, we have different DNA, we're going to have different ideas. Interestingly, now some of them are more founded in reality than others, but if that's what it's got to be, it's got to be. And in my line, if you think about the Secret Service, let's say I go to work for the Secret Service, and when I go to work for them, it's one extreme, left or right. And, I'm pro that thing and I support them. I'm not going to support them less when they go out and a new president comes in and all of a sudden they have the opposite ideology. It's just, you don't get to pick and choose a lot of times what they think and who you're protecting or what you're doing. You just get to choose how you manage your emotion, how you manage your application of skill. But that exists, and that's a reality. And especially in the industry that I work in, you're going to deal with a lot of extremes. That's what it is.
It's inevitable, no matter what. You know what I mean? Especially obviously Todd, in your field and what you're doing day to day. It's that's just, man, I give you mad props, because I'd probably murder people just because of that reason.
They say that doesn't work out very well in the end, but who knows?
Someone out there, please don't do that and tell me all about
it. This is not approved.
Right. It's not approved action. Go train jiu-jitsu and learn how to do it, and then don't do that.
Yeah, schools are the same way. Schools, hyper political in some cases, depending on where you're at and what that regional ideology is, or what the school owner's ideology is, or you have a flag in my background, Marine Corps flag, and oh, that's racist. Okay, well, I guess it is. I'm a Marine Corps flag. It's it's not. I'm not hiding something. That was my background.
Right.
The tenets of the Marine Corps, which are very similar to the tenets of jiu-jitsu, literally. So if people are butthurt about silly stuff like that, then there's nothing you can do. And it's probably not the people that I want around me. If just seeing something like that, sends them into a tailspin, they need to become stable humans and address whatever mental illness is that they have. I mean, it exists, and I'm pro helping people. In fact, that's a good segue. Have you guys checked out Nick Turnbow at all? Have you seen any of Nick's stuff?
Oh, I have not.
No. So Nick trains at my gym. Nick is a purple belt, and he was born 1 pound 6 ounces.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And Nick has cerebral palsy. And so he went from not being able to walk or move to being able to walk in a walker, to then being able to walk with crutches and leg braces, to then just crutches, to now, he can walk for limited periods of time without anything. And he's training on a regular basis. He's growing constantly. So, in the interest of kind of being in the gym and looking at what matters, that's what matters, right?
Yeah.
Guys like that are I've got all these tools and all these abilities, and I'm not utilizing what I have. Whereas this guy has to use 100% all of the time. And so if you haven't seen him, at Nick Turnbow, NickTurnbo, he's worth a look for anybody out there that wants some motivation to see kind of, he's in the gym lifting weights. He's rolling around on the mats. He's out there, trying to walk without anything. I mean, just never complains, just getting after it all the time. really, really motivational. And I'm sure that everybody's got somebody in the gym like that that probably needs to be highlighted, talked about, looked at, and people
For
need to
sure.
be reminded that these are the guys that jiu-jitsu is really about, right? Like if you can already fight and you're already a tough guy and you're already physically fit, jiu-jitsu doesn't offer the same type of tools that it does to guys like these. So
100%. Yeah. And seeing,
sure.
you know, like super inspirational because we know how hard it is to do this day to day training and all that. And you're
and
like,
that's with everything, right?
Yeah.
that's what it does mean. Like completely fine, like a completely fine physicality body working properly the way it should be, or the way it is, or whatever. To see someone else with an ailment, but that ailment has never affected them in anything that they've done, you know, and it's like, yeah, that's the person I want to see. That's the person I want to talk to. Like they are the people who promote and show like everyone else is overthinking things in life and they're not. They're like, you look,
Guys just working on constant improvement and say, okay, I have this hurdle, so be it. And it's almost like the guy, he's disabled and then he disables his disability. It's crazy to watch him work and do that. And it's for me, it's, you know, you have those days where they're really hard. You got a lot of shit going on. It could be with the family, it could be with finances, it can be injuries, it can be, you know, COVID, whatever it is. And you're not as motivated to act. But if you can find a few guys like Nick to look at and go, what the hell am I thinking? I need to go. Let's
like,
go. You know,
right.
and kind of put them in your head and really understand the value that they present to the team or the gym. It's massive.
That's a huge aspect too, to have someone at your gym in that capacity where someone else walks in thinking they can't do it. And you're like, hey, meet my friend Nick here. And then just introduce and talk or whatever, see. And it's like, I don't want to say, you know, some people get on me like, oh yeah, well, you're showing a disabled guy. Well, that's not the point. Cause he's not disabled. Like he's not going to, he doesn't feel that way. Like he's already overcame that. So it gets people to go, oh, I can do this too. Yeah, man, you can.
The thing about it is if you look at where the person started to where the person's at, that level of growth difference in him is very different than my level of growth from when I started to where I was at that many years in. And you can't compare them, and you're disingenuous when you compare them and think that something you're doing is equal to that. Cause it's impressive, man. It's impressive. Put your head down and get to work and don't deal with anything else. You know, you can't do what the other guys are doing right now, but you need to do the things that will get you there eventually. And that kid's doing it. So check him out when you guys.
There we go, Chad. Another guy.
Write that name down, Terry. I don't have a pen.
Bring him on the show. Well, this is
at
recorded.
Nick Turnbow on
oh, that's true. Yeah, you get it when you're editing, right?
People always go, you don't write anything down. I'm like, it's recorded. I have to edit this. So I literally listen to the entire thing. So then I write everything down.
Yeah. But we have two guys, one that was just diagnosed. We have two guys that are training with MS. And they're, you know, in their early 30s, they were just diagnosed, but it'd be very easy for them to be like, I'm out, you know, like.
Yeah, I mean, because that affects their nervous system, and that's a huge part of jiu-jitsu. So absolutely.
So the one just messaged me today and said, hey, I talked to my doctor. He said, jiu-jitsu is going to be great for my PT. I'll be back. So
awesome.
You know, that's, you know, again, we're complaining.
Yeah, the quality of life is a major factor.
What's COVID?
Yeah. Stop whining. Stop whining.
Right. Dang it. Ruined my whole thing now. I was all like,
sorry, buddy.
Geared up to be like, yeah, I don't have to compete.
Hey, on the next podcast, I'm going to talk about you and your COVID.
That's good. It'll keep going. Just keep burning, slow burn, right?
Yeah.
Hey, you said you're in the process of writing another book, or you gonna do it?
Yeah. It's pretty much done, but obviously,
oh, sweet, okay.
It doesn't make a lot of sense for most people to release two books at the same time with kind of opposing content. So the current book, Protective Perspective, is really for the masses. And again, it's focused on music touring, so traveling and photography and security and protection, all that kind of stuff. But the one that's coming out next, which I'll probably release in the summertime, is called Underpinning. And Underpinning basically is a book for guys that are not in law enforcement who are teaching defensive tactics and use of force and components, you know, whether it's hand-to-hand defensive tactics or if it's firearms training or anything like that. So basically what it does is it breaks down the key components of those areas as it's seen and done by a law enforcement officer. So you have to kind of understand where they get the authority to do it from, because when you put your hands on somebody or you shoot somebody or anything like that, it comes from the Fourth Amendment, from search and seizure. So you look at that, you start to look at laws like Graham versus Connor, which determine that they have to use objectively reasonable force, and there are metrics for that. Sure. And then they get into state statutes, and then getting into, areas like general orders, policies for an agency, and then how it's processed and presented. And, most of us, and I'm saying this as a broad stroke because it doesn't include me, but generally speaking, in jiu-jitsu, we train on soft mats, and the person, generally speaking, is not trying to kill us. And generally speaking, we don't have 20 pounds of gear wrapped around our waist. And generally speaking, we don't have cameras recording everything we say and do. And we're also not operating under the same restrictions. So, we have a lot more leeway in how we train and what we do and what we think. And so those guys have these complexities that most people are not aware of. And so my intent with that book is to give guys who are, let's say I'm a 10th degree black belt in jiu-jitsu, and I'm teaching guys, to give them a better understanding of what they're teaching and how they're teaching it. And if they understand that, they can be more useful as a DT instructor, use of force instructor, firearms instructor, whatever it may be. So that's where that book is at. And so I'll release that probably in the summer, like I said. And I think that'll be huge for the jiu-jitsu community as a whole, because even guys maybe that aren't teaching law enforcement, when they start looking at that, then they'll understand why it's not the same, right? It's, if you look at jiu-jitsu and MMA, there's a correlation, and most of MMA has jiu-jitsu in it, but that's one variable in the equation. And so there's a lot of other components you have to take into consideration. So you can't just say jiu-jitsu and MMA are the same thing. And so I'm breaking that down on the law enforcement side so that people better understand it, and they can evaluate it with some more kind of understanding or a better perspective.
Yeah, it's definitely needed. Obviously, you see it, and we were talking about it earlier, the social media blow up, and everyone and anyone's like, oh, well, I'm going to get on this train right now and try to capitalize on some financials here of teaching people how to handle law enforcement. And I'm like, I don't know that this is a good idea. Like, I want every right. Like, and I want everyone to learn it, obviously, from especially LEOs. Like, I'm very pro LEO. I have family members that are LEOs, good friends.
But there's just a sample of the community, right? Like the people in law enforcement are just, from the community. So they're people, and you get good ones and you get bad ones. You get ones that train, ones that don't train. Right. You get, everything, ones that make good decisions, ones that don't. And so, if you leave your wife and kids home alone and you got to go do something and you're their main protector, you have to rely on someone else to protect them. So there's that. But a big thing in jiu-jitsu, and society wide with law enforcement, is the Dunning-Kruger effect, which basically is, you have this big opinion, you have all this all these ideas about something, but you have very little information about it, right? And so the Dunning-Kruger effect, in a nutshell, says you don't know what you don't know. Right. And so, there's a lot of that in law enforcement.
Man, I haven't heard that term in a long time. Like, the Dunning-Kruger, it's true to the form. It actually very true to form.
It's a fact. I mean, there are a lot of things within law enforcement that people don't understand. Hicks Law, for example, where the more options you have, the longer it's going to take to make a decision, and the chances are that you're not going to make the best decision possible. So, like, if I've got a duty belt on, and I've got a gun, and I've got spare mags, and I've got OC spray, and I've got a taser, and I've got a baton, and I've got whatever other thing that's going to get put on my duty belt, and I've got to cycle through which I can use, and I have 1.25 seconds to make that decision to implement it, chances are, I can screw up and make the wrong decision, no matter how much training time I have. So, understanding these laws, these processes. And then another great law to understand is Yerkes-Dodson. And Yerkes-Dodson basically looks at, the level of stress and performance, right? What's the relationship between the two? And, normally, if we have no stress, our performance is not as good as if we have some level of stress. It kind of looks like a bell curve. And when we get to a certain level, like our training or our performance goes up. And then when we get past a threshold where it's too much for us to handle in that moment, then it starts to drop off very rapidly. So understanding these components and how they're applied in law enforcement and use of force and stuff like that is really big.
Yeah. Fight or flight, right? A little
Yeah,
bit.
so that's another component. So when you start to talk about the autonomic nervous system, you know, your involuntary responses to things, whether you're in kind of a fight or flight or a rest and digest, and how you toggle between it and what happens under stress, you know, auditory exclusion and tunnel vision and loss of fine motor skills and pulling in the blood to the center. And, you know, the switch, you know, from like prefrontal cortex operations to the amygdala. These are things that are really, really important, but no one wants to think about, no one wants to get into. But to really have a conversation on the subject, you have to understand that. And, you know, a lot of people scream about science, but they don't understand the science. So,
so I get,
go ahead.
I haven't got this for a while, but, you know, I'll get calls from moms like, hey, my daughter's leaving for college next month. Can she do some self-defense? And I don't want to ever tell anybody no, or like, we're not going to help you, but it's like, it's too late.
You're late in the game. 100%.
Way too late. Like I ended up, my girlfriend knew this girl that I did like twice a week for 3 months for this one girl that was going to college. That I can commit to. Like, let's try to form some habits. But if you're leaving next month and you can only train once or twice, it's like, I'm doing you a disservice and it might hurt you more.
I think it's a common theme. Yeah. Cause you can build false confidence, but you know, back in the day, we had a guy who was a Krav Maga guy, who was one of the leaders in Krav Maga, show up at the gym. And this might have been like late 90s, saying, hey, I want to learn jiu-jitsu. I've got a fight. At the time, it was called NHB, No Holds Barred. I got an NHB fight, you know, in 3 weeks. Like, you're not going to be able to learn jiu-jitsu in 3 weeks where you're able to effectively apply it under that level of stress. And he's like, no, it's good. I'm going to do it. And, you know, I got all this Krav Maga and whatever. And he went in the ring and got knocked out. You know, you can't learn something that's as complex as jiu-jitsu or most other things in a short period of time and then apply them under stress. You know, it's different. If you're just doing a demo, no problem. But now you're going to deal with someone trying to hurt you. It doesn't work out very well.
No.
That's what I have a hard time understanding with the LEO, not community, but the management, let's call it, because I don't know the
administration.
Administration. Well, like it kind of blows me away though, where they go, hey, you can go 40 hours or whatever and get certified. And there are places that will certify those people who do it. But I'm like, what? Like
I think that management is just old school, right?
Well, it comes from the community, but you know, the bottom line is they have a certain amount of money to work with. They have a certain amount of time to work with. They have a certain number of people to work within an agency. And so most states will have a governing body for the training. So like post, I don't know if you know what post is, but most states have a post agency, right? Where it's some type of standard or performance level. You have to meet a certain metric, and normally that's done in terms of courses and hours and different subjects. So like you need this many hours of training in law, you need this many hours of training in some type of medical services, you need this many hours of training in defensive tactics or whatever it may be, which is not one actually in any of the posts that I'm aware of, other than your basic academy where they go through for 600, 800, 1200 hours, whatever it may be. And so you have to meet these metrics to maintain your license. So if you're going to be a cop, you need a license. If you're going to be commissioned and carry a gun and have the authority of arrest, post has to certify you for this license, and then they establish what it is. And you have a limited amount of time to do it. And a lot of times that training is done what they call in-service training, which is not through like an external agency, it's internal. And they just add it on to the day or the week or whatever it may be. But it's not always done in the best interest of the police officers or the community. A lot of times it's political, and that's just the nature of the business. You know, when you get to the top levels of law enforcement, it's very political because they're working for the mayors, and normally they're appointed. They're not elected like a sheriff. Now, a sheriff is a very different thing. A sheriff is elected and as elected, then you will see them do very different things, and they'll be much harder about certain subjects and areas because they're elected and they're not appointed by a mayor or somebody in the city. So again, complexities of the situation, but it's certainly true that there's never enough training, especially when you're asking this person to go and be, you know, a counselor, you're asking them to be, you know, a first aid responder, you're asking them to potentially, you know, take someone's life. So it's a complex thing, and you have a very, very short window to do the thing. And if you mess up, you may not survive. So it's a challenging thing, and they keep adding to the responsibility. They keep adding to the duty belts on Leo's waistline. So probably not the best time in the world to be in law enforcement.
Yeah. Chad, were you gonna say something?
No, go ahead.
Do you think it's trending in the right direction?
I don't know. I think that depends on where you're at in the country, and it depends on the agency. We're all different people. All three of us do jiu-jitsu, but we're different. We have different families and we have different upbringings, and we have a different approach to the thing. So I think it's a very dependent upon where you're at, what type of agency you work for, how political the agency is. So some groups are hyper political where they're not focused on, the well-being of the officer, and they're not really truly concerned about the community. And you see that in some of the larger cities. And so the most important thing for them is to step up and be saying the right thing. So you'll hear them have the classic mantras, and they need to be progressives. They need to say something. Whereas you may go into a more rural community, and let's say the sheriff's department has to respond to a much geographically larger area with less concentrated in terms of population, and the people are more resilient and self-reliant, you're going to see their tactics and their procedures are very, very different. So I think it depends. And I think if I gave an answer, it would be wrong in some places and right in the others. But it's no matter where you're at, there's certainly a massive hurdle for those guys to clear. And man, I feel bad for them. And all I can say is I'm glad it's not me. It's a bad spot.
I feel tremendously bad for everyone in that community that chooses to be that their livelihood, their income, their, what they're choosing to do. And I appreciate them greatly because of what they're choosing to do, because it's so hard. And
somebody's got to do it, man.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
Right? They have to. It's in people, it blows my mind when people are like, oh, we need to get rid of this and not do this and this. And I'm like, what? So are we going back to the Wild West here?
Right.
Like what are we doing, man? Like,
and here's the thing about that. If it goes back to that, unless you're trained, unless you're skilled in a lot of different disciplines, you're going to pay the price for that. So all the people that are talking about, getting rid of police doesn't make sense, because those people are the ones that are going to suffer. And in fact, in the more impoverished communities, that's where they need it. That's where they need to try to establish some type of baseline of normalcy where people can survive in that environment. And once they remove them, it's a free for all for the bad guys.
Right.
And,
bad guys are always salivating at that.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you look at it, there's a direct correlation. You can look at all the data. Department of Justice puts out data. I'm not saying that it's not political, but they put out data that you can look at. Washington Post, which I don't read, puts out data on that. You can go to get training on it. You can go to the Force Science Institute with Dr. Lewinsky and take, a 40-hour, 80-hour course on how that works, how force works scientifically, and what's likely to happen in action versus reaction, and recognition prime decision making, and all these components that are contributing factors into the situation that we're facing now, if you want to understand it. Or you watch the news and you just spew whatever they say. So
exactly.
Your choice.
Right. Well, it's your choice, everyone out there. Like I say that all the time. I'm like, again, you stay over there, I'll stay over here.
It's a good thing you got that remove before flight tag on there.
Yes.
Now, these are the times where you can just start yanking on that thing and hope to get out of this conversation.
Yes. I have a good friend that I've worked with. He's retired now, and he was ex-military, and he was a jumper. So when he retired, it was actually during COVID, and I went into the office and there was an envelope on my desk, and he had a letter that he wrote to me, and he put that in there. And I was like, oh man, like he was a good friend. He was a long range shooter, taught me a lot about long range shooting. Did in Ohio here, we have Camp Perry up off of Erie Lake, shooting over the lake, and did a lot of competition shooting up over there for long range shooting and stuff, and taught me a bunch of stuff like that. I was a young buck at the company that I've been with for 20 years now. So
good stuff, man. Those are skills that are going to be really important if things don't go well.
Yeah, my oldest son is 15 years old now, and he's very much into shooting. He's been into it for quite a while. I'm a parent of the year because I let him read Todd Fox's book.
What's this crap you're making me read, Dad?
he actually enjoys it a lot, and he'll ask me questions about stuff. And I mean, I'm very open with my kids, 15, 13, and 9, and we very much talk about that kind of stuff. And when political things come up, we talk about it because we deal in a school district that there's different things happening all the time. And so my wife and I have different views on things, and we'll sit down and we talk about them, and that's just how it is. And people are like, oh, you guys talk about your kids with stuff like that. And I'm like, because it's important. Do you understand? Like, I'm not going to be one of those statistics on the news, or I'm not going to be one of those people that's like, oh, I didn't do that, I want to hide it from them. I'm like, I know how to walk the line. I can keep stuff from them, but also educate them at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about being an active parent, right? And that's pretty important. And also you're talking about, critical thinking and decision making, and you have to have information to do that. Because otherwise, if you're just making random decisions, you got a 50-50 chance at best.
Yes.
It's not a good reality. Yeah.
And as a parent, I think I'm doing an unfair justice to my kids. You know what I mean? By not doing that. It's, so, but I don't know. People blame me. They're like, yeah, you're different. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm jujitsu. You can't talk to me anymore. I have tattoos. I'm a terrible person. Blah, blah, blah. I know. You have a bad circle of friends, blah, blah, blah.
Chad's like, laughing his ass off.
Right. See, no, it's like, I talk about this all the time. I'm like, yeah, it even changed worse when I went to jujitsu, because then it was like, what? Oh, yeah. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? And I'm like, honestly,
so violent.
Right. I'm
bad influence. I had no tattoos when I met Terry.
Well, see, no,
yeah, look, matching hand tattoos. That's sexy.
Yes. Yeah.
Are those the same hands? You guys both have?
No, mine's a heart.
Right
His
hand.
is actually
mine's the left hand.
It says, oh yeah, yours is left hand. Mine's right hand. I have a heart. But I will say, Todd, the last time we talked, I didn't have as many tattoos as what I have now. I have 2 full sleeves.
Man, you're getting after it. Those things are no joke too. Funding those might cost you a side job.
Yeah, my wife
to work somewhere else.
My wife was like, so this is the midlife crisis, right? And I was like,
this is the Corvette, right?
Right,
or
right. That's what I joked. I was like, oh, wow, I wanted to buy a motorcycle. And she was like, no. And I'm like,
it's motorcycle or tattoo.
Right. And I was like, well, okay, I'm going to get another tattoo. She's like, all right.
The good thing, Todd, is we got our tattoo guy to start training jujitsu.
Yes, we did.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Hey, you want a private, buddy?
Yeah.
It was just like, every time we went in there, like, that's all we talk about. We sit on for 3-4 hours. We're sitting down getting tattooed, and everyone's like, why is that guy just talking about jujitsu the whole time? Like, what the hell is that?
And so he started last August, and I think he's lost 40 pounds already. Yeah. Like, being a tattooer, he sits all day.
Yeah, you're sedentary.
It's not good for your body. And I think he said his cholesterol dropped when he had his blood panel done. And
absolutely. It happens to everybody that they come in a certain condition and they add that component into their life, and it just gets better across the board.
Stuff, man.
That's a whole nother, like, we could do a podcast on components of jiu-jitsu and what's mainstream in jiu-jitsu. Tattoos are definitely one of the things. Like, tattoos super prevalent in jiu-jitsu, at least in the circles that I'm in.
Oh, that's very.
And you start to see the influence of things in jiu-jitsu, like from the tactical world, right? Military and law enforcement components, and then like kind of subculture stuff. I'm starting to see a lot of jiu-jitsu art come out now. In fact, hold on a second.
You got a sweet piece. Oh,
I don't know if you can see it with the light on that's in front of me.
That's really cool.
That is very cool. I love that.
Yeah. So
snake coming off it's a snake on the belt. That's very cool.
Yeah. I saw this piece of art a friend of mine had posted, and I saw it. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And I did some research and found out who the artist was, but I didn't know where they were or anything about him. I couldn't find anything online. So I sent him a note, and the guy didn't respond. And then I looked at his site, and it was all in Spanish. So I sent him a note in Spanish, and he replied immediately and started talking. I said, hey man, I'm interested in buying, a piece of your work. I saw this one. I liked it. Let me look at whatever. And he's like, oh, okay, that's cool. He goes, I've never sold anything before. I don't know how to do this. And so it was a really cool thing, because then I met this guy down in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, who made that piece. And it was the first time. He had tons of art, but he had never sold it. So it was really cool in the day and age of the digital world, where someone had something and hadn't monetized it. They were just doing it for the passion, the passion of art and the passion of jiu-jitsu, and putting it together. And there's another guy that has really cool pieces. I don't know if you've seen him, Noah Jiu-Jitsu. That guy's got really
I think I've
cool
seen his
stuff.
stuff.
I have seen some stuff on Instagram. He posts stuff on Instagram, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm seeing more and more of that now as jiu-jitsu becomes mainstream. Like, these bits and pieces that are guys are taking and putting it in their respective realm.
Sure.
And, those guys are awesome. This guy is Copa Rulo at Copa COPARULO, Copa Rulo. So you guys can find him on Instagram, but very cool stuff, man. Anybody that's into jiu-jitsu and art, that's a place to go. And tattoos, from my perspective, are art, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And that's for sure. That's the cool thing about jiu-jitsu. Again, like, obviously we bring this back full circle all the time. People are finding outlets more than just training, but like art, man. They're like, oh, I have such a passion for this and I'm very good at art and I love it. Okay, we'll take your passion and mix it together and then make some funds for it, like monetaries that for yourself, for your family, and grow and be that, it's like, you can't say it enough. Obviously we beat a dead horse on the show with jujitsu. The podcast is about jujitsu, but getting people to understand that don't do it. It's like, you don't understand the windows and doors it will open. Like for me, Chad, like doing a podcast, like who would have thought ever, building network, making friends, getting books sent to us and reading stuff and being able to promote things. Like,
absolutely. It's a parallel structure for anything in the world. Like if there's something you're into, you can find someone in any country that's into that and they will bend over backwards for you. And so in my line, we're in 50 or 60 countries a year, and we might be in 500 cities, 2 or 3 cities some days. And, I can literally go in, and if I don't have any other network, I can go into that place and I can rely on them to provide me some type of information or a connection to somebody. And it's real, and I don't have to worry about being manipulated or lied to, or like, it's just that existing brotherhood or family kind of vibe. And I found that everywhere in the world, like literally from, in Iraq, finding that I trained at a gym in Northern Iraq and they were a great network there. South Africa, finding guys there doing stuff. So like, depending on where you're going, what you're, in Asia and in Russia, going to Russia and, make relationships that way. Even when the political climate is not great, you cross those thresholds. Like, okay, no, we don't care. We understand. We have this mutual respect for each other based on this thing we do, and we love this thing. And the doors it opens, man, are just vast.
Sure. Yeah. Here's some jiu-jitsu art for you.
Nice.
See your lights on. Oh yeah,
that's nice. I got it. Yeah, these damn lights, man, to light your face up, suck for showing things. But
that's a guy. I think he's out of the UK. Gartista, art by Gartista. If you look him up, he says some cool stuff.
He does a lot of.
I'll look at his stuff, man. I love to see this, like these guys coming with all these different formats for jiu-jitsu. I see, art popping up all over the place. I don't mean on gis or hats or t-shirts. I mean like actual art on, acrylic on canvas or charcoal on cotton or whatever.
The biggest probably jiu-jitsu artist is Mirkatsu. I don't know if you've ever seen Mirkatsu. He's definitely out of the UK, but he designs a lot of gear and stuff. But he is a legit artist. Look him up. I think you'll like him. That
sounds very familiar.
You've probably seen some of his gear, I'm sure.
I think you've shared stuff with me before, Chad. That's
he used to put stuff on his Instagram, like drawing on like a styrofoam cup, and it would just be he's ridiculous.
Yeah, the different mediums that they come up with, and how really that makes it pop with respect to texture. It's impressive, man. I look at this stuff and like, man, I couldn't even have fathomed this, but.
On a different kind of level, Terry and I are going to have him on the podcast. Ron Garney's his name. He's a black belt. He's also an illustrator for Marvel DC.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah. No, I never heard his name before.
Right there.
Oh, nice.
He is the illustrator with Keanu, Keanu Reeves, Matt Kent, Ron Garney, and Bill Crabtree. They teamed up, and it's obviously, like some of the illustration stuff like inside is pretty intense. It's obviously, comic book.
I love it, man.
He's
I'm not
really
a comic book guy, but I'm an art guy, and
exactly.
Like that is just impressive. Probably because I don't possess any of those skills. It's particularly interesting to me.
Yeah,
they're awesome skills. I mean, you possess a great set of skills just in a different world, just like these guys. World. You know what I mean? Like. Yeah. I tell people all the time, they're like, oh, I'm not good at that. I'm like, you could be good at that. You're just not in that right now. Like, that's not what you've done. It's like me going with you, Todd, and you'd be like, this guy's an idiot. Like he's going to get us all killed. Like, you know what I mean? Or you sit down with me all day and you're like, how does he do this? Like, how do you
you're
do
back
what you're
to
doing?
Dunning-Kruger, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like it
Yeah.
reminded me of that when you brought it up.
Yeah, because it's true, man. I would talk to guys. There's a weird thing in jiu-jitsu too, and this exists in other realms, but like the guy's a black belt, 5 stripes, and a doctor comes in and is doing whatever, and then they start talking about a medical thing, and the jiu-jitsu guy's trying to overrule him on what he's saying about medicine when the guy's like a surgeon. Like, guys, it doesn't work that way. Like your black belt in jiu-jitsu doesn't transfer to medicine. Like, you don't know shit about that field. And I'm reminded of that all the time. I'll go into a realm and I'll be like, oh my God, I don't understand anything here. And you become accustomed to operating in realms where you're the subject matter expert. And then you go somewhere else and it's like, holy shit, I don't know anything about this. I don't even know how to look at this particular situation. So it forces you to go get help. And one of the cool things, I was talking about this with my Muay Thai coach, Patrick Christie. One of the cool things is if I'm in jiu-jitsu and I'm the guy in the room, I'm expected to win every time, all the time, without exception. And that creates a lot of weight on your shoulders, because as you get older and as you're traveling around and I'm not getting to train much, and I got to come back in after being gone for 6 months and then supposed to beat everybody in the room and go through 50 guys who have been training every day. That's a lot of weight to carry. But if I go another room over into Muay Thai, they don't have any expectation of me because I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. So they're like,
all right.
And so I go over there, I'm constantly learning, I'm having fun, and there's no pressure to perform. But the amount of learning that happens there is vast because of that, because there is no pressure. So again, getting back to Yerkes Dodson and that performance, like you see where that curves at. Yes. So it's like a very cool experience to have when you go into a realm where you don't know much about it and you're learning again. You're a neophyte. That's for me, it's a great feeling. I don't feel, overwhelmed by that or like I should know. I feel like, man, this is cool to get this experience.
Yeah, I kind of had that. So I've been off the mats for 9 weeks now. I have a sprained MCL. So my first jujitsu injury ever in 18 years, which knock on wood, that's ever to keep me off. COVID didn't keep me off the mats this long when we locked down. Yeah. So this is the longest.
A lot of us didn't stay off the mats during COVID.
Right. But you know what I mean? This is my first real injury. Right. So obviously could have been a lot worse. And I think being in shape and doing jujitsu probably saved me a little bit. My knee popped so loud. I will never forget that sound in my life.
Yeah. But you didn't tear it. It's just sprain.
Yes. And they told me.
Are you doing rehab or what are you doing?
I'm doing some PTs. Luckily I have a couple PTs at the gym. And then I'm doing some, it's called cold laser therapy. It's not cold, but it's just infrared laser that just promotes healing. And so
I've done that. I have a grade 2 MCL tear and I did rehab and I used actual cold therapy, like cryo,
cryo. Yep.
And that really helped with inflammation. So I don't know. We have a place here that really specializes in, cryo and
we have one here now too. I haven't been there yet.
That's huge, man. That really helped me, especially as you age.
Right.
Deal, man.
But being off the mats and being active, I'm like, I'm going to go nuts because I can't even teach because I can't bend the right way. And, luckily I have a great group of instructors that can help me. But I got a hold of our kickboxing coach, Buck, and I'm like, hey, you hold mitts for me? I got to do something. He's like, absolutely. And I haven't hit mitts in 10 years. Yeah. And it's that thing you were just saying, we were hitting mitts and he's like, you're a lot better than I thought. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's no expectation, like I'm just a jiu-jitsu guy.
It's just a jiu-jitsu guy.
So you're telling a story, but your story is my story. Same thing. Like I ended up with an injury. I had a neck injury and so I couldn't do something like, I'm just going to hit pads for a while. And my buddy said, yeah, man, I'll hold pads for you. We'll do this, we'll do that. And I could torque and turn. So I could throw low kicks with their knees, elbows. It's just, I couldn't get my neck cranked on. So I couldn't do jujitsu for like 3 months. So I went to the Muay Thai room. This is years ago, but I went to the Muay Thai room, started training, man. I was like, oh, I love this. And it really loosened me up because jiu-jitsu, we tend to pull and crunch and it's like super core focus. But when you're doing Muay Thai, it's left, right, high, low. Like you loosen up a lot more. It's really complementary to jiu-jitsu as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Good crossover.
And we've been talking about that in the gym because we have a Muay Thai seminar coming up. And
we got Matt Brown. We got Matt Brown coming in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Matt's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
Matt's a great dude. He's there in Ohio. I think he's in Dublin, right?
Close. I mean, he's maybe 2 hours from us. So
yeah.
Matt's a good dude. Tell him I said hello.
He's got a fight coming up here, May 13th. He's getting back
Does
back in the cage. Yeah,
fighting in the cage again.
Yeah, he just finalized it. I know he is.
He's fighting with age too. You know, I mean,
yeah,
he's got a lot of wear and tear on him. So, but a good guy, man. I like Matt. The last time we were talking, he had brought some coffee and some other stuff, and we were having a long conversation, kind of about being an older fighter. So that's got a lot of,
and you can tell like he's thinking that way with the coffee business and trying to branch out and get his name out there for other things. So he's super nice. We had him on the podcast. Super nice.
Todd, I think he just started it. I believe he has his own podcast now too. Like I think he's running a podcast.
Oh, that's right.
The Immortal Podcast. The Immortal Podcast he's doing now too, out of Columbus. Obviously he's down there in Southern Ohio. But good dude. And we talk about that clinch, like that clinch work and stuff, and how vital it is to BJJ. Like it can teach you a lot of good things. So they kind of go hand in hand. I mean,
for sure.
So it's good.
Yeah, that's great, man. I'll shoot him a text after this. I'm glad you reminded me. I'll shoot him a note and see what's going on and how he's feeling. But a good guy to be teaching stuff because he can do what he's showing you. And,
he's legit.
He understands.
He's no
and
slouch.
he's a no nonsense dude too.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what? Actually, I know that rubs some people the wrong way, but I really like. I
appreciate it.
Like he's no bullshit. It's like this is what it is. And straight to it, and I like that about Matt.
Yeah, I wish more people were like that. I wish more people I worked with were like that because I work in the the jet jockey world and the engineering world, and everyone's like, I'm like, why do you guys
least like that?
Like, why do you? Yeah, they're the least like it. I'm like, my boss is like, why do you act like this? And I said, because just come to me and tell me. Just be straight with me. Like, stop sugarcoating or stop saying this. Like, stop telling me what 5 people before you had to say. Just tell me, and I'm cool with it. Like, I'm totally fine. Like, you suck. Okay, cool. I'll get better. Like, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like,
that's society. That's societal. Like, it's crazy. I can't just tell you something that's, hey, man, listen, this is the deal. It's not acceptable. We need to change this. I can't say that anymore. I have to.
Nope.
So how are things? Are you having problems at home? Are you having a problem here? Is your hand okay? Go through all this stuff to get to the point that like you aren't doing something right. You just need you need to take some type of corrective action. Well, tell me, I'm good, dude. I screw up all the time. Tell me what I did wrong, and I'll get to fix it.
Yeah, for sure. It's the mentality. Well, I tell people, newer people, that I'm training some people, some other engineers at work, and they're like, "What about this or what?" And I go, "Listen, man, you didn't show up here to screw up, okay?" I'm like, I'm not going to ever bust your chops because of that. Like, if you woke up and you're like, today's the day I'm going to go there and screw up, then we're going to have a problem. I was like, but no one here does that as far as I know. And I was like, and if they know me, they're not acting that way.
Yeah, man. The thing is too, like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm at that age now where there's this massive generational difference, and I'm starting to understand, what was happening when I was a kid with the difference in generations that I didn't understand before, which is kind of crazy too. Like, oh, wait a second, it's your, you as a kid are kind of growing and learning stuff, but what you don't understand is that your parents are in the same process. Like they're growing and learning at the same time, and how to deal with a kid and how to deal with the society as it changes. And it's a interesting time and an interesting kind of reality to go, oh shit, I'm at that age where I'm looking at stuff and complaining about things that are really generational changes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Chad does every time when he texts me something, and I'll text him back and go, what does that mean? And he's like, you seriously don't know what this means? And I'm like, listen, dude,
right. I had to Google it.
I had to Google it.
FUOM287. Ha ha ha.
Right.
What?
What?
That's another conversation. The languages that exist now, like kids are cutting stuff in half and using letters. Like, okay, they can't look you in the eyes when they're talking to you, which is amazing. I don't know if you guys have had that experience when you go somewhere in public and you're trying to talk to them, explain something, and they're just staring down and they're shaking because they're nervous to talk to a human.
Yeah, I try to. So
text it to me, buddy.
I'm at the I'm at the gym every day. I manage the gym, and I'm at our front desk when the kids walk in, and we still have a traditional karate program as far as the respect and discipline, but we teach it as a all-in martial arts program, right? But each kid I greet when they come in, and most, like, they'll walk by me. I'm like, hey, eye contact, say hi. I said hi to you.
Right.
So I try to do that in a joking manner too, and not just a disciplinary manner. But
yeah, and especially when they're paying you to train them, like you have less options available to you. But I agree, and I think that's a school that or any martial arts school is the place to start to learn those things. If your parents aren't teaching you, or your teachers aren't teaching you that, to learn to acknowledge other people. I mean, it lifts everybody in the room. Like, you're acknowledged as a human. How you doing? And also, when I look at you, it's not just to look at you to greet you, but to see how you're doing, to see what's going on, to see if there are any indicators of some mal condition. So we start to miss that, and we start to not be able to read humans anymore because we're not used to doing it. And it's different. And I get texting's faster and it's more to the point.
Sure.
And I can use acronyms, and that's great. I try to adapt to that, but I also still try to be a human. Right.
Right. Exactly.
Person, utilizing my eyes and my ears and my sense of touch and all those other components.
And I'm sure it's because of busy schedules and more kids in the family, but we have less parents that come in with their kids anymore. It's like, hey, drop them off. I got to take your sister to ballet. Or I remember growing up doing karate, and it was a packed house of parents there that, stayed and watched. But different time, like generation too.
People are more involved, I think, in the growth of their children and their family. And
for sure,
they weren't so distracted by so many things. And I think all of us, probably, if we're honest, know that we get distracted by stuff that's less important. All of a sudden,
all the time,
you're dealing with some issue that's like internet or web based or social media based, and it has nothing to do with your real life. It has nothing to do with the people you truly care about.
Right.
So it's difficult, and that's another thing you have to manage, right? You have to manage, how you deal with those aspects, the less important things, so that they don't take away from the more important things. That's a hard thing to do right now.
It's very hard, especially in the society that we live in now, and seeing and watching and whatever that's going on all the time. So, and it does tend to cloud the mind of that thinking process. You know what I mean? Like, again,
you get distracted. You can only deal with so many things at one time, and obviously you want the majority of your attention going to things that matter. And you think about that in jiu-jitsu. If our attention goes to something that is not pertinent, we get submitted. In fact, as a black belt going with a lower belt, my whole goal is to get his attention somewhere that I'm not attacking. Right. I'm distracting him. I'm set. We refer to it as a setup, right? I'm getting his attention over here, and then I'm going over there. So I'm low right, and I'm going high left, and that's happening to all of us in life right now, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep, 100%.
I just used an analogy the other day that a black belt told me years ago, and I kind of like, that's a stupid, or, you hear them analogies, but he would tell me, when you're attacking a choke, whatever you're attacking, pretend you're shooting arrows that have flames on them, right? And you're shooting them in that one area, so they'll put that flame out when you really, you know what I mean? That whole,
absolutely.
whole scenario.
Yeah, I mean, especially as you get higher in level and you're going with good people, the setups are required, because people are not just going to do something. And also their response is less exaggerated, which means less opening to respond to their response. So it becomes complex. But I think right now, like in modern times, it's extremely difficult. Maybe it's just me, but it seems very hard to really focus on what's important. And so many things are coming into you from so many different directions. Shutting stuff off is not easy, because now you shut your phone off, and then your refrigerator's yelling at you about something, or your TV is popping up and saying, and your alarm's going off, your cameras are being alerted, and it's just it's constant. Speaking of which, I'm glad this came up. You had a catastrophic event in your state. How are things with that? I'm seeing like water pollution and things like that.
It's interesting. I mean, it's about an hour and 45 minutes away from where Chad and I are currently located, in East Palestine, Ohio. It's hard to navigate because you're trying to obviously read between the lines. You're trying
so much out there, right?
You're trying to navigate what people are posting on social media versus what you're reading on the news or seeing or reading in the news outlets. I feel very bad. Obviously, anyone would feel bad for these people, because you don't know anymore. It's hard to say, are they hiding something or what's real? It's very hard. Yeah.
Misinformation, disinformation, information operations. I'm curious, because I am getting two stories that are at opposing ends, which is one that it's catastrophic, and the other one's like, it's all good, it's under control. So
I mean, if you've seen
and it's probably somewhere in the middle, right?
Yes.
It's catastrophic visually looking.
Man, I'll tell you what, when I look at that, it's very hard for me to believe that there's not a significant impact on nature in that realm. I can't look at that and say, oh no, that's no big deal.
Right.
Like you're worried about plastic water bottles. Like look at chemicals flying through the air, and look at how far that's spewing. It looked like an A-bomb. So I don't know. I have no insider information with respect to that event, but looking at it, it looked very serious to me from the outside.
And, they did a control burn. And, when I think of that, I'm like, okay, they did a control burn on this because they're trying to contain the chemicals and burn this off, so on and so forth. But were experts brought in to do the control burn? Was it your, God, I respect them tremendously, LEOs and firemen and everything, but were they just tasked with doing it? Were they like just given the green light to go ahead and do it? Did they bring in experts to do this type stuff? So, I saw a little thing.
Points.
Yeah. Like yesterday they brought Purdue, I don't know what his title was, but they interviewed a scientist / engineer from Purdue, University of Purdue. And he talked about a lot of key points. Like, I see the data, but I question how they went about getting this data and how did this stuff get pulled. And I'm watching the TV going, and my wife's standing there and she's like, yeah, like, how can they do this? And I'm like, it's hard. They just they gotta keep pushing the public officials, the mayor, whatever have you, in the community. They have to keep there has to be voices that are going to have to keep doing this. Personally, just my own opinion, as again, no validity to this outside of, I think it's going to be a super, super long time before it's right, because stuff like that doesn't happen and everything's okay. I mean, I look at it and go, this is like a Chernobyl thing, man. Like, this is like something that's in the soil for 50 years now. Like, and creatures and animals and water supplies and everything is screwed up.
Here's the question. Would you give that water to your kids today that comes out of the public water? Would you? And if you say you wouldn't, why? And if you're saying that, it's not safe based on what you're seeing, you don't believe it's safe, then imagine that entire community. I can't imagine like being okay with, like, okay, cool, I'm just gonna it's like weird. There's a shimmer on top of the water. It's like a rainbow. That's weird. Oh, okay.
Right. You're 100% right, Todd. And you see things like the railroad. The crazy part is the same railroad company just had a wreck this week in Michigan.
And
a one I think container was toxic, but it didn't leak, whatever. They showed that too. I just happened to pick that up. And I probably have watched and read the news more in the last couple of weeks because of that than I usually do, because I try to keep my mind out of it.
There's something to be said for that. I used to watch a lot of news, and I had a foreign national in a foreign country, say to me, like, why do you watch the news? I'm like, well, I'm trying to stay informed. And where we were at was a country that was known for disinformation and state TV that manipulated the people. And he said, you're trying to stay informed on what the government wants you to think? And I said, no, I'm just trying to get a better understanding. I watch different news channels and da. He said, he goes, what's funny is with Americans, he said, they believe that. He said, here, the people know that it's disinformation, misinformation, that this stuff is going on, but you guys still haven't figured it out. And I kind of laughed it off. But then we had a couple of national events here occur, and I was at them when they unfolded. And then the news was reporting something very different from what was actually occurring. And I thought, I'm late to the party. Obviously everybody else knows this, and I didn't realize this. So it's the news. It's quite interesting to watch. And if you get, real-time information from people on the ground, I think it's probably better, at least for decision making.
Yeah, for sure. And that's been the hard part, because we're, being in Ohio, we're close. Obviously you have connections, someone shares something via social media, and they're sharing stuff that they actually live there, and like, don't trust this, like they're lying to you. And then you see a totally different story in the news or on the news, and you're like, what the heck? Like,
it's tough.
I wouldn't give them the water. I mean, I just wouldn't, because I'm in the mindset of going, I don't know until you prove to me the full data. Like, I have to see it and read it myself, man.
And even then, you don't know where that data's come from and how it's been aggregated and how it's been manipulated. And so, like, when I think about my background and looking at things through the lens of somebody working in the intelligence community, you're looking at the reliability of the source and the validity of the information. Those two components are the most critical two components. Before I take in the information, I need to know those things, right? Is this source reliable? And what is the validity of this information? And even in my past life, we scale those things and give them a point rating to know. And so if I'm passing you information, I give you that data to show you what those things are measured at, and then you can make your own decision.
Yeah. it's a very unfortunate event
Yeah,
to happen. I feel obviously at any event like this.
I feel for those people. That's brutal.
Yeah.
You know, they have no say in what happened, and then you know their ability to correct the problem is very limited. So keep me posted if you get more information on that.
Yeah,
really
definitely, man. Yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, we get obviously being close, you know, within less than an hour, 2 hours away, you know, and getting people posting stuff, and when you bring up creatures, there was some person that went down and got some amphibians out of the water, and they were all dead and everything. They're like, I don't even know the species of these, but this is what we're pulling out of the water. So tell me that the water's safe. And I'm like, that's a problem. But
that's a problem for sure.
I can't look at that and go fully and go, okay, it's cold, man.
You don't know what's propaganda.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
you
hard.
don't. Yeah,
it's so hard.
But then you'll have people in Canton when it rains saying that we have acid rain or something. This, you know what I mean? It's like,
right.
Yeah.
Look at my car. Look at the spots. I'm like, well, let's just it's salt and it got wet. You know,
right.
So you don't know what's what.
Yeah, it's hard. I think that's one of the things now. You know, and a lot of people are talking about like 5th generation warfare and stuff like that, where you have these non-state actors manipulating people through all these different ideas and presentation material and stuff. It's very difficult because when you saturate a certain platform with information, and you only have so many hours in a day to think about this situation and sift through it to figure out what's real and what's not real and compare, you know, contrasting stories. So it's back, we've come full circle once again, back to kind of the times we're living in and our age and dealing with the stuff we're facing. So I think probably the best thing to talk about is jiu-jitsu, because when it's all said and done, the thing we can rely on overwhelmingly is jiu-jitsu, because we know no matter, even if we have the shittiest day on the mats, we know that when we walk away at the end of the day, we'll feel better than when we came in. We'll have learned something, even if we got our ass kicked. We have done something for our body, something for our mind. You know, you can't train and not walk away with something. So there you go. We've wrapped it all up.
We have, go for sure.
The solution to life is jiu-jitsu. The meaning 100%. Of life is jiu-jitsu.
Yes. Forever.
Don't question my authority.
Don't question Todd's authority. Don't, guys, because he has very, very good connections to find you. No, just kidding. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not.
I know.
I know. Yeah.
Well, Todd, man, thanks, brother, for everything.
Awesome to talk to you guys, man.
Yeah, you too, man. I was
somehow
super excited. I was super bummed. Yeah. Go ahead, Chad.
You stumble across Ohio, come find us and we can train.
I will.
But
I would love to, man. It'd be an honor and a privilege to get to do that with you guys.
That'd be cool.
Definitely.
And please, I don't know if you saw the comment on my one Instagram post. James Klingerman said he's still waiting on his new books.
Oh, is he?
That's what he told me.
It must be the postal service.
This was when I first posted them, when I got them. He's like, I'm still waiting on mine.
Well, I'm going to have to send more books to James because I don't want to disappoint him. That's for sure.
I love the dude.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, good.
And I will also text him in addition to Matt.
I was going to say,
tell him I heard. Yeah.
I will hit him up with some shit talking here very shortly.
I was going to say, you got to make sure it's good. Yes. Like give him the good stuff, Todd. You rib him well.
Tell him loop chokes don't work.
Yeah, that's his thing. That's his bread and butter.
I'm gonna probably rip out the pages from the book and just send him the cover.
Oh, that would be amazing.
And ask him what he thinks.
Yeah,
and sign the inside.
Yeah,
with something crude and rude.
Can you read this with your good eye?
Oh, that is classic.
That's awesome.
Right. But the good thing is I say it to his face, so this is not something
for sure.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, anyone out there that doesn't know, there is a brotherhood there. There's a long-term connection for life there. So it's definitely, see, this is what we get to do in our community too. And we still love each other. It's like choking each other out and then picking you up and hugging you and going, great roll.
For sure.
True story.
You know, so. Well, man, again, thank you so much for everything.
Great to see you guys, man. Look forward to catching up on the next one.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, keep us apprised and posted on the next book as well.
100%.
All the information will be in there for everyone out there. Obviously, you know, the links and everything will be in there. Please go out and support Todd, buy some books, support him and everything that he's doing. Keep praying for you, my brother. Be safe and everything, you and your family and all your friends and the crew and team and the company. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Appreciate you greatly.
Yeah. Thanks, brother.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right, man. Yep. We'll see you
later.